Listen-only mode.
Well, good evening, one and all. Hopefully you've managed to log in successfully into this program. We certainly appreciate you being with us tonight and helping us to, I guess, launch this new type of technology, this new type of communication. We still got a little bit to learn about it, and it's only exercises like this evening that'll help us do that. So apologies for the somewhat later than scheduled start. But I'll be handing over to Andrew Byrne very shortly, and he'll be talking us through the enhanced mating predictor, the four elements of it: the calculation of the inbreeding coefficients, the calculation of mid-parent accuracies, and the full pedigree display of the animals used in the mating, as well as display of expected mid-parent EBVs and breed object indices for the progeny of percentiles on a percentiles bar chart. So once again, good evening one and all, and you're in, I guess if you need to communicate or want to communicate with Andrew, you'll do so by typing your question into the allocated box there and hitting the send button. Andrew, I'll now hand over to you.
Right, well, thank you very much, Jeff, and good night, everybody. Just as a matter of interest, just to demonstrate what we've got for you tonight, as Jeff said, we will be going through the enhanced mating predictor, which is a facility that's available on the Hereford's Australia website. Now, we thought this was an ideal opportunity to try and trial this webinar type of technology. As a matter of interest, Jeff's sitting up in Brisbane up there, and I'm sitting down in Armidale at our computers, and we have around 20 different Hereford studs sitting around Australia logged into their computers. So it's a new type of technology, one that we're reasonably excited about, that we think will hopefully add to the extension services that we can provide to you. Just a bit of housekeeping just to begin with. Basically, you should be able to hear me now and hear Jeff as we've been going along. If you are having problems with the sound and some of your technical difficulties, Jeff will be standing by to take any questions throughout this presentation from the technical side of it. So if you're having any problems, please give him a call on his mobile there, 0412 573 462. Alternatively, the other way, the way that you can interact with me during this presentation is you will have a little control panel hopefully on your screen, and one of the options within that is the ability to submit questions as we go along. So I would really encourage you to submit questions as we go and try and make this as interactive as possible. I plan on running this presentation for probably 25-30 minutes, and that'll be it, but I'd urge you to try and submit your questions as we go along, and I'll try and handle them as we're in the different screens. One thing about that control panel is it does tend to disappear on you and basically minimize. So there are two arrows on the control panel which you'll see, which if you click on that, it'll bring that screen back up so you can type in your questions and go from there. So with that housekeeping out of the way, we might now go in and have a bit of a look at this mating predictor. All I really plan on showing you tonight is where you can access the mating predictor and some examples as to how you can possibly use this. And as I say, it has just had some enhancements done to it recently, which I think you will be interested in. So if you just bear with me for a second, I'll now go into the relevant area that we need to. So you should hopefully now be seeing on your computer screen basically the Hereford's Australia website. So that'll be coming up there. That's the home page that you'll all be familiar with. So www.herefordsaustralia.com.au. To access the mating predictor that we're going to be talking about tonight, it's just a simple matter of coming up the side here to this database search option. So you can see from the menu on the side there, coming through and clicking on the mating predictor. So if you click on the mating predictor option, that will then take you into a screen with the mating predictor that we're demonstrating tonight. Now we can just click up the top here to maximize this screen so it's taking up the full screen. What you have here is basically the start of the mating predictor functionality, and really what the mating predictor is all about is the ability to put in some either an individual sire or a range of sires that you have available to you for use within your mating program, either an individual dam or a range of dams, so we can specify those. And what the mating predictor will do will be to go through and calculate what the expected outcome of the different matings are, so you can make an idea, get an idea as to maybe which sire to put with which dam to come up with the maximum amount of genetic gain that's possible from the available sires and dams. So to demonstrate this, we'll start off, we'll do a number of searches. At a base level, I suppose we can use this mating predictor where we know one sire, one dam, and what we're trying to do is to go through and to see what the likely outcome of that mating will be. So if we put up here in this top field, the sire identifier field, we put in the sire that we might be interested in, and I've just plucked a Hereford sire at random. I could have chosen any Hereford sire, but I just did a quick search on the internet this afternoon and just plucked a particular sire, and we'll use Mount Difficult Fellis for this example. So we just need to type in that sire identifier field the Herefords Australia ident of that animal. I've just also plucked a dam at random. So again, this is a South Bukalong dam. If we put in the sire identifier and the dam identifier and then just click on search, so we have a search button located at the top and the bottom of the screen. Click on search, and that will then bring us through to the results from that particular mating that we've specified there. Now at Australia, I might just maximize what we see on that screen. So if we just go to, I'll find our text size here for you, I'll just increase that a little bit, so hopefully that's a bit bigger on your screen in front of you now. So you can see the results that come out of this mating. We first of all have the sire and the EBVs of the sire on the top line that we've specified. Further down we have the dam that we just specified and her particular EBVs. And we have the ability just to click on the sire and the dam's name there to go through and actually view some more information about those. So that'll, if we're interested in more information about the sire, we can go through and view the animal details page by clicking on that link. What we also have down here is the expected average progeny value. So we get the expected EBVs of the progeny from this particular mating. Now we can just enhance what's displayed on this page. At the top we have two links up here in the top left hand corner titled one show EBV accuracy and the other show index values. So if we click on the show EBV accuracy link, that will take us through and actually as now put into the table the EBV accuracies of the sire, the EBV accuracies of the dam, and the expected EBV accuracy of the progeny from this particular mating. Likewise, we show index values. If we click on that, that will then put into the table there the actual expected indexes of the sire, the actual indexes of the sire, the actual indexes of the dam, and the expected index values of the outcome of this particular mating. So just to give you an idea as to what this information is, there's nothing that's too complicated about the actual accuracy, the EBVs here that we get, the expected EBVs. They are just simple mid-parent values. So if you like, if we take an example here of say 200-day weight with Fellis, the sire at plus 28, the dam at plus 33, all of the expected EBV from the outcome of this mating is the mid-parent value, giving you, at this case, would be plus 30.5. So it's just coming up as plus 31. Now, the actual accuracies that we get, they are the mid-parent accuracies, but accuracy works slightly differently in this case than just a simple the middle point between those, because of the way that accuracy is calculated. It's not simply the middle point. So you can see in this case we've got an accuracy of 97% on the sire, an accuracy of 73% of the dam, and the mid-parent accuracy, if you like, or the expected accuracy of the progeny would be 61% in this case. Now that's obviously the accuracy that we would see before we start to record any information on these calves, at which time you'd expect the progeny's accuracy to increase. But it gives you an indication as to how reliable this expected mid-parent EBV is for you to get an idea as to how reliable that is likely to be as an estimation of the likely EBVs that we see in the progeny from this particular mating. So we get that information. We also get the mid-parent index values. So we can go through here, and these are, as with the EBVs, just simple mid-parent values that give you an idea, if we put this sire and this dam together, what is the likely outcome of this particular mating in terms of the index values. Now one other enhancement which has been made recently to this facility is the ability to actually give you an idea as to what the likely level of inbreeding is if we put this sire and this dam together. So the inbreeding levels that we expect in the outcome of this particular mating are expressed here in the form of an inbreeding coefficient. So an inbreeding coefficient is just this percentage value here. If you're not familiar with inbreeding coefficients, you can click on this link and it will actually take you through to a page which gives you some more information about inbreeding and how to interpret those inbreeding coefficients. So we have some basic information here. What it does have is some typical inbreeding coefficients to give you an idea. So we can see here if we've got an animal mated to its own parent, so maybe a daughter mated to its sire, we'd expect an inbreeding coefficient of 25%. A common one which people will probably relate to is if we've got a half sib mating, so a bull and a heifer mated together that might have a common sire, then we'd expect an inbreeding coefficient of around 12.5%. So if we go, there's some other information in there which you can spend a bit of time to get an idea. So if we just go back, you can see the outcome of this particular mating that we pulled up before is the inbreeding coefficient of 1%. The question which is, the obvious question which is often raised is, well, what level of inbreeding coefficient is our concern? So at what level should we start to be concerned that we've got a little bit too much inbreeding to pursue this particular mating? As a general rule, we're using a bit of a cutoff of around 10%. Now that's just come from a recommendation that we pulled out of the dairy industry as to what they're using. From experience and looking at this type of tool and the inbreeding coefficients that we're seeing, it's very rare probably to see inbreeding coefficients greater than 4 to 5%, unless there's some quite common pedigrees there. So that's just a bit of an idea, but this would show you straight up that if we put these two together without even looking at the pedigree, then we wouldn't have any worries to do with the inbreeding or expected levels of inbreeding and the outcome from that particular progeny. The other bit of information that we also get is this minimum and average generations. Now, what this is giving you is an indication as to how reliable that inbreeding coefficient is likely to be, in that one of the limitations that we have when calculating the inbreeding coefficient is the amount of pedigree which has actually been recorded with Herefords Australia for the sire and the dam. In that if we have no pedigree at all for the sire and the dam, then we'll have an inbreeding coefficient of 0%, simply because we don't have any idea that they do have common pedigree, when in actual fact they could be full siblings and that information just hasn't been recorded. So in this case, it gives you, if you look at the pedigree tree, an idea as to how much pedigree has been recorded with Herefords Australia. So if we look along any branch of the pedigree tree, there's a minimum number of 6 generations which has been recorded, and on average there are 12 generations of pedigree that have been recorded for both the sire and the dam in their pedigrees. So you take that and say, well, this inbreeding coefficient of 1% is there, but it's also likely to be a really good indication of the expected level of inbreeding, given that we've got quite a lot of pedigree information that has been recorded. If you are also then would like to go and have a look at the actual pedigree, so when you're putting this potential mating together, you'd like to have a look at the pedigree in a bit more detail, you have this ability to click on the pedigree display of the mating. So if we click on that now, that will then bring up the following. So it'll bring up the pedigree tree for the sire, of, in this case that we specified, so Mount Difficult Felis. If we come further down the page, we will then have the dam pedigree for the dam that we specified. And as with all of the things here on Internet Solutions, we can click on a particular branch or a particular animal in that pedigree, and that'll take us through to the actual animals page. So we can go through there and have a look at the pedigrees and interrogate them and see if we are comfortable with those pedigrees that we're putting together. The last bit of information which is provided through this mating predictor is the actual expected EBV graph. So many of you will be familiar with the actual EBV graph that is produced in the EBV inquiry facility within this Internet Solutions type of services that are available on the Hereford Australia website. Now all of those EBV graphs are just a graphical way of displaying the EBV information. So this here is the expected EBVs, if you like, of the outcome of this particular mating, but rather than putting it in the table as we did on that previous screen, it just displays you with that graph. Just due to time limitations tonight, I won't go through how to interpret that graph, other than to say if you've got any questions, then please give me a call tomorrow and I'll take you through exactly what that's telling you. But that just gives you a graphical representation, as I said, of the expected EBVs in the progeny from this particular mating. So that there basically goes through, if we just go back to the previous page, gives you an idea as to what information we can get out of this mating predictor facility. We'll go in a second now and have a bit of a look at, well, while we've got this basic functionality of putting an individual sire and individual dam in, what are the other ways that we can use it? But I do just have a few questions which have come in from people, and thank you very much for sending those through. I'll just go back to the actual mating predictor page to look at these questions. The first question is effectively here, what if I only know the sire's name? So as we can see in this mating predictor page here, we only have the ability to specify sire identifier and dam identifier. So they are basically the Hereford Australia identifier for these particular animals. So in the case of the Mount Difficult Felis bull that we used, it was MTTY12. If you weren't familiar with that and you only knew the name, then there are a couple of options that are available to you. The first one I'll say is we're just working with the programmers at the moment to actually put the ability to put a name in there. So that's something which we're hoping, an enhancement which will be made to this shortly, that you will be able to search on name. In the meantime, if you do have some problems, really the way to do it is to go back to the actual EBV inquiry system. So you can see across the top of the page there's a link to either the animal or the EBV inquiry will do it for you. If you click on them, that'll take you back to that page. You can put in the name. So in the example we used, we might have known it was Mount Felis Y12. If we click on search, it didn't like that at all. I better put in Mount Difficult Felis Y12. So I'll put in the proper name this time. That'll then bring it up to the results of that search. We can then click on that bull's name, and the identifier will be displayed across the top here, so at the top of that page. So we could go through, just hold your mouse down and go over that and select that, hold your right mouse button down, click on copy, go back to the mating predictor facility and right mouse click and paste, and that would paste the identifier in there. So a little bit laborious as to how to go about it, but unfortunately at the moment that's the only way that we have to do it. As I said, we are going through and working on the ability for you to be able to go in and search on the sire's name. The next question that we have here is, can I access the inbreeding coefficient for existing animals? Very good question. At the moment, we don't have the ability to, or we're not displaying the inbreeding coefficient for existing animals. So one of the argument behind that, or the rationale which has been given to us behind that, is inbreeding is one of those things where it's probably working with the future generations to maintain inbreeding is where we can go. And if we've got an inbred animal in our herd, well, what do we know we can say that it's inbred, but what do we then do about it? But having said that, there are ways you can get around and actually calculate the inbreeding coefficient on existing animals. If you put in the sire of the animal and the dam of the animal into these particular fields, click on search, it'll then go through and actually produce the inbreeding coefficient of those calves. So you can do it through this way. We're also working on whether it's worthwhile putting out reports to each individual herd of animals within their herd that have an inbreeding coefficient, say, greater than 10%. And I'd be really interested in your feedback on as to whether that would be useful to you. But that's the kind of where we sit at the moment as to how you can go there. So another question which has come through, but is, well, how many sires can we specify? In the first example that we used is basically we put in one sire and one dam. What I might do now is we'll answer that question by just doing a demonstration of the next example that I've got. Obviously the first thing which we did, we just specified one sire and one dam. So you also have the ability, which is probably where the power comes into this, to be able to put in a range of sires and a range of dams. So I'll take the example, and we'll just go back to this dam where we have the dam that we had before, but rather than just having one sire, we might be evaluating, well, there are 3 AI sires that we're looking at, and we're trying to work out, well, which which basically semen from which bull are we going to use for the mating with this particular dam. So again, I've just plucked 3 different sires at random, so we'll take Mount Difficult Phallus again. We'll put in Neon, and again I've just plucked these at random, and a Waruna bull, and in this case I've just got to change this down the bottom, which I'll demonstrate the reason for that, changing that to sire by dam in the next search. We've got a range of sires and a range of dams, and in answer to the question which was asked, at the moment the sire identifier field, it's a fixed length. Using the normal Hereford Australia idents, you'll be able to get up to 8 sires in there. So you are limited. At the moment it's up to 8 sires and probably 8 dams if we use this dam identifier field, but we'll show you a way that you can increase the number of dams in a second. So if we go in there, we click on search, what that will then do is bring up the results of all those possible matings. So we'll come through here, and similar to the page before, we have the dam and her EBVs at the top of the page, and then the individual sires down there. So we'll just enhance this. We'll put the EBV accuracies onto this page by clicking at the link, the top left-hand part of the screen. We'll click on the show index values and put the indexes in there. So now you can see we've got the dam, and we've got the first sire that we specified, so GH Neon, and the expected EBVs and indexes and EBV accuracies from that particular mating. Also the expected level of inbreeding. Right below it we have Mount Difficult Phallus and his particular EBVs and accuracies, and then likewise the expected outcome from that particular mating if we put the cow with that particular bull, or use semen from that particular bull. And likewise Waruna Vickery down the bottom here, if we've got his EBVs and accuracies and indexes, and then the expected EBVs, EBV accuracies and breed object indexes in the outcome of that particular mating. So, and then you can start to see we've got an inbreeding coefficient here, And we could go through and click on the pedigree display of that mating to have a look at the different pedigrees and also see the EBV graphs that we'd expect in the calves from either of those combinations. So to me, I think at a base level, this is where this starts to have some information, so, or some usefulness to you, some real power, in that a lot of you will be going through in the next couple of months and looking at, what matings do you do. So we can look and say, well, these are the available sires to us. Which of those sires would be best to mate to the particular dam? If we want to take this to the next level, so I'll just, before I go to that next search, I'll just have a look at any questions that might have come in. We don't have any questions that have come in since I looked at them last, so I'll go back to the next demonstration on this, where, and again, I think this is where it's really taking it to the next level and demonstrating some usefulness of this facility, is if we go back to the mating predictor page, you can see up the top here we've got this the next screen, for enhanced selection criteria, use the mating predictor after logging on here. So what that's saying is if we log on as a user with a username and password that we use maybe to access our breed plan files or to submit information to breed plan through the Internet Solutions facility, we'll get some enhanced selection criteria, and that particularly relates to the actual dams. So we'll log on here, we'll click on this, that'll take us through to the log on page, which many of you will be familiar with. Now I've just plucked a member here, and for no other reason than I was talking to him this afternoon, we'll log on as Javenvale. So we put in the actual membership number here, and we put in the password and click sign on, and that'll then log you on. So in this case we're logged on as Javenvale. And if we click on the link at the top here back to Mating Predictor, it'll take us back into the Mating Predictor facility. A similar screen to before, but you'll now see we've got the ability to do some enhanced selection criteria relating to our dams. So particularly to select dams which are in your ownership or on your female imagery. So the way that I see that you could use this is we'll take the example where we've got those three sires that we're looking at, and we'll just use the ones that we used before, but they may be a range of sires, and either with semen available or maybe the bull there for a natural mating. And we'll just type in those particular IDs. So we just put in the three bulls we specified. Instead of putting in an individual dam, we might say we're going to look and put that bull over all female, or the combinations there of those bulls over all females in your female inventory. So we've got that there. Now, we do have a limitation on the number of dams that you can specify. So the programmers tell us that it gets, the computer trying to calculate all these expected outcomes gets a little bit stressed when we go through and it specifies possibly 8 sires with an inventory which might have 400 cows. So the combination there obviously at 3,200, and it just all comes to a grinding halt if we try and do that. So they've got an upper limit on the number of dams that you can put in. So at the most we can do 100 dams at this stage. If that's causing people with considerable problems, then I would encourage you to let me know. We'll see if we've got some options to increase that. I guess there are a number of herds out there who may have greater than 100 dams. The option that you've got is to possibly put in a dam calving year here, as we will for Javenvale, to actually just do these combinations on a particular group of dams, particular calving year, one at a time. So not perfect if you've got a big number of dams, but just due to the computational type of requirements that the programmers tell us, then that is a limitation at this stage. So we'll just limit it to 25 for this example. So 2006 drop dams on my female inventory. Now we also have the ability to display the results by sire or dam, depending on what we tick here. Now what that's really getting at is if we want to display the results where we have the sire at the top and all the available dams and their combinations below them, then we click on sire. Or Or alternatively, if we want to click and look at an individual dam and then all the possible combinations with the different sires below it, so we look at a dam at a time with the 3 sires in this case, then we'd click on dam. So just to demonstrate what that would mean, we also have the ability to sort dams on, and that's a little bit limited at the moment, but we can sort them on differences such as name, sex and name, which if they're all females, I don't know what that option would be. Sex, date of birth and name, date of birth and animal identifier. So we'll leave that just at name at this stage. Go through and click on search. So we'll click on that. We'll leave that at 25. And we'll leave it on Sire. And we'll just wait for that to crunch the numbers. So you can see when you start to put in some multiple sires and multiple dams, it does slow it down a little bit. But hopefully not too long. So that's now displayed on my screen, which will hopefully come up on your screen in the not too distant future. So you can see there, I'll also add in the EBV accuracies and the show index values, just to up it there. So we'll come through here. We can see we've got the Sire at the top. So because we displayed the results by Sire in that click box, we've got GH Neon here with 25 dams. So these will all be 2006 dams on, in this case, Yavin Vale's inventory. So we'll go through and you can see we've got that particular dam and again the expected outcome. So we can have a look at that. Likewise this particular dam and so forth. So we've got the different dams as we move down the page. One thing you'll see which is probably evident here is we can only get the actual EBVs, or expected outcomes, if both the Sire and the dam have EBVs reporting. So in this case where this dam here only has EBVs for these traits and also has index values, we only get the expected progeny values from the actual EBVs where both are reporting. So that is one limitation that you need to be aware of. So you can go down there and work out, well, if I've got the 25 dams here, well, which of these dams would be best to put the particular sire with and use it as a bit of a tool there. We've got the inbreeding levels there, and you can see in this case there'd be no animals with any, well, I beg to differ. By the time we get down the bottom here, there is one here that you'll see that has an inbreeding coefficient of 27%. So if we want to see exactly why that's 27%, we can click in there and click on the pedigree display of this mating, and obviously the dam is actually a Neon daughter. So in this case we're looking at putting Neon over his daughter again, and so we've got that high inbreeding coefficient value coming back to us. So that just gives you an idea as to how you could do it that way. What I will do is I'll just go back now and just show you how the results would display. I'll just go back a few screens, hopefully without complicating it too much. And I apologise if that's clicking on your screen a couple of times. But if we now change that there to be dam, so we put on the actual, in that search result page there, instead of viewing the results by sire, we're going to review them by dam. If we then click on search, what that will do is now bring up the first dam and the possible outcomes of the mating with each of the individual sires. So we could say, well, this is this dam. Okay, they're the available bulls we've got. We'll go through and we'll say, well, we might want to put her with Mount Difficult Fellas, for example, without looking at the EBVs. We could then go through, click on the next option that's up here in the top right-hand side of the page. That'll then take us through to the next dam and look at the different combinations there that we have from the possible sires, etc. So to me, this is probably the way that I see it of most benefit to people without being in the position to go through and do this myself. But if you've got your dams there, you can say, okay, I've had 2006 drop heifers, we're going to plan our matings. We know our potential sires, we might have up to 8 sires. We'll select them by dam and just go through dam by one, look at the available kind of sires that we have to us, and work out which dam sire combination is going to produce the most profitable progeny, or the progeny with the highest genetic merit. So that's just one idea there that I would have to see where the real benefits of this comes through. Now we've just got some questions. That really probably brings to an end the type of things that I wanted to demonstrate to you tonight, but we have got some questions here. The first question is, can we get it to tell us which sire is most suitable to each dam without having to view, say, the 8 possible matings? Very good question. At the moment you don't. What I probably should say as a disclaimer to this whole system is this is probably a mating predictor tool which doesn't pretend to have all the bells and whistles on it. If there are some quite sophisticated mating predictor type tools out there which will design your matings for it, and the most common of those is TGRM, or I think Total Genetics Resource Management, which is available I think through XPrime, is a company which I don't know too much about, but I also believe that some of the scanners might have a license to that to do that. But that will really go through and do the full bells and whistles approach for you, if you like, where you'll put in your breeding objective, you pull in how much, what your kind of inbreeding tolerance is, what the available dams are, the available size, and it will actually go through and calculate for you what the best matings are and tell you, well, basically design your matings for you. So if you wanted to go to that level of not having to go through this mating predictor, but just put some information in where it told you the best size and the best dams to put together based on their EBVs and indexes, then you probably need to start looking at some of those advanced tools. They obviously come with a cost, and one of the things which has been limiting our uptake of that TGRM is it is a little bit cost inhibitive. I'm not sure exactly what the latest costs are, but this is where this mating predictor has probably been enhanced to as a bit of a stopgap measure, where it's trying to do what people are probably doing every day when they're actually planning their matings, but trying to do it in a more powerful way. So we've also got here some other questions. Hopefully that answered the question for you. There has been a suggestion here, which I think is a very valid one, that we'd like to be able to display or sort the results by, and it probably comes back to that first question, but by a particular index value. There's something which I'll be exploring with the programmers to see whether we can sort the results on that page. So if we put in a particular dam and the available size, that the results or the outcomes are actually sorted on, say, expected an index that you specify. So the expected index of the progeny, say for the grain-fed steer index, in descending order down the page. So that's a very good suggestion, something which we haven't explored yet with the programmers, but I've got on the to-do list, so we'll go through there. The other question I've got here is from a Pole Hereford breeder, saying, can a pole breeder use this facility to reduce the incidence of horns resulting from a particular mating? At this stage, no, we don't have the ability to do that. One thing which has been suggested, probably why we've done this, say, I did a webinar similar to this with the Limousin breed, and they have some information on there looking at coat colour, so some apricot versus some black type coat colour things. They're looking at putting in, first of all, the ability to limit the searches to, say, dams which are black versus apricot. They're not looking at putting into the mating predictor just yet I think the probability of the progeny being apricot or black, but I guess that comes down to another kind of enhancement which has been made to this facility, which is known as Jeanne Probe. Without going into too much detail, basically looks at traits where we have a DNA test available to give the expected kind of outcome from a particular, or an animal, the expected chance that they are homozygous, and therefore that the progeny will be that particular trait. They're looking at working with that for some of the facts that they've got a coat colour test available to them and enhancing that and building that into it. If we've got a horn pole DNA test which may become available shortly, or we might be able to build that into them. At this stage though, it's not sophisticated enough just to go through the pedigree and work out the likely outcome of whether it's a horned or a polled animal. The last question we've got here is relating to the TGRM. TGRM costs more money. What I would like to be able to do is put the size I'm going to use and then have it tell me which bull will improve my dam's progeny the most. And I think that the way that we need to go through there is to probably put the ability to sort dams on the particular index values is probably the way to go, or on individual traits if people see that, and that will then, if we put those combinations in, you'll probably still have to go through the possible results in terms of, say, each dam and on a page-by-page basis. But if we've got the dam at the top, or the sire at the top for each individual dam, that's going to produce the highest indexing progeny, and that's probably the best that we can do. So I'll envisage to take that feedback back to the programmers and go from there. So that basically brings me to an end. We've run a bit over what I was hoping to tonight, but we've had some really good questions in there. So I thank you very much for that. I'll hand back over to Jeff in a second, providing Jeff's still up there in Brisbane and still awake on the other end of the line. What I will say though, just in finishing, is I'd be particularly interested in people that have logged on tonight in their feedback as to how this is run. This is something which we're looking at building into our kind of standard extension services, and we've got some changes coming up probably in the breed plan analysis in the summer run that I'd be looking at. Maybe this is a way of presenting those to you. So I'd be really interested in any feedback that you've got. If you'd like to give me a call to do that, by all means do. But what we have got set up is when you exit the webinar tonight, a poll, what they call a poll, will hopefully pop up on the screen, which is just a few questions there about whether you found the webinar useful and any future topics that you might like to see webinars run on, or how they can be improved and those type of things. So I'd really appreciate if you could spend a few minutes to fill that in, just to get us some feedback, because this is obviously a new technology which we're trialling. So hopefully you found tonight interesting, and this inbreeding, the mating predictor facility useful to you. What I'll do now is I'll say good night and hand back over to Jeff up in Brisbane.
Good, thank you, Andrew. Thank you for that very comprehensive and interesting, well-presented presentation. Certainly from where I was sitting here, it all came across very clearly, and I hope that for the attendees that the same was the case. And to those of you who logged into this presentation, once again, we do thank you and appreciate the time that you've given us to test this new type of this new means of communication. We know that, of course, that at least some of you were receiving it loud and clear because of the number and quality of questions that were asked, and as Andrew said, we certainly appreciate that. And we do look forward to your feedback, either by email or phone call, to help us even further to fine-tune this new way of doing things. So thank you one and all, and we'll now wish you good night.